Hi guys, welcome back to this channel. I am Darian, and today I wanted to kind of have an informal talk about why it's so important to get to know yourself. A little bit about my journey of getting to know myself, loving yourself, and why you should walk full force into that direction. So let's go ahead and get into it. I wanted to touch a little bit about my journey because it's definitely been a journey, and I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I didn't know who I was. I didn't love myself. I didn't instill boundaries. And now that I'm on this other side, I believe it's so beneficial for me to make this video because it can help other people on their journey, are looking to embark on this journey. So I don't really remember growing up hearing a lot of affirmational things about myself. So naturally, I feel like when you don't really have that affirmation, when you don't really grow up in a household where, even though those things may be known, or even like, and I feel like this is a good example where people know that they're loved, but they're not necessarily told much that they're loved. A lot of times we have our own versions of what love is, so we don't always feel loved by people in their way of showing us love. So that's what I mean when I didn't really grow up having a lot of affirmation around me. You're worthy, you're beautiful, you're worthy of this. This is what you deserve, those type of things. And when you don't grow up in that type of environment, or as you continue to get older, that's not really the types of things that you have heard. It can be pretty hard to believe those things. And I feel like that is what is happening in today's time, is so many people have endured that. So many people have grown up in spaces like that and had situations like that. And so even though they may not necessarily be aware or feel that it has had effects on them, it's showing in the actions. It's showing in the type of people we choose to be friends with. It shows in the type of people that we choose to get in relationships with. It shows in the type of situations that we put ourselves in. So even if you have not yet connected with that being the reality of your situation, or even if you just haven't really took the time to think about and really unpack the past, that could actually have been something that you have dealt with. So in my situation, as I started to get older and I finally got to, I'll just say like my young adult ages, I noticed that, like I said already, the type of friendships, the type of people that I was hanging around, I allowed a lot of stuff to go down that shouldn't have gone down. I allowed things to happen to me that somebody who loved themselves, somebody who knew their worth, somebody who knew how valuable they were at that time wouldn't have allowed that. And so as I continued to get older and continued to grow and continued to do the work and learn who I am and love myself, I see life from a new place. And it's almost like night and day from the past versus the now. But in order for that change to happen, I had to get to know myself. I had to sit with myself. I had to go deep in those areas that hurt and understand why I feel this way. Understand why I allowed certain people who were not true friends or did not treat me like I feel like a friend should have been treating me to be in my life. Why did I allow certain behavior, people to overstep boundaries and go into spaces that I should have never allowed them to be in? And once you actually sit down and do that work, it's not easy. Once you actually sit down and do that work, it requires getting bare and getting down to the raw truth, digging deep and bringing up that old stuff and really processing who you are, what you've been through, understanding that what you've been through is not who you are today. Understand that what you've been through does not make you who you are. And I'm speaking from in a negative terms. I feel like a lot of times the negative things that we experience, we sometimes may actually take that on and feel like that is who we are because of what we've been through. But no, you don't have to take that on, and that does not have to be who you are. Be who you're known for. Be your identity. You don't have to succumb to what the outside world has tried to make you, or you don't have to succumb to what people around you have tried to make you or tried to stain you with. So now that I'm in a new space in life from when I was young and naive and didn't love myself, didn't really know who I was, to fast forward to now, today's time, I realize now that as I have gotten older, there are a lot of people with narcissistic-like traits. Lots of people with narcissistic-like thinking, and this is not to take the accountability of having to still love yourself and make the decision that you're not going to tolerate certain things in your life. This is just to say, this is an observation of what I have noticed as I've gotten older and now approaching relationships from a place of boundaries and self-love and knowing my self-worth and not allowing just anybody to come in my life and treat me any kind of way. I realize now, once I got boundaries, once I learned the difference between being nice and kind, I want to be kind, not nice. I have realized that a lot of people that I have encountered have had very narcissistic-like traits, are very narcissistic-like ideas. They don't actually know how to treat other people. And to be able to think back now, like, it makes sense why a lot of the things that happened in my life happened, because when you do not know who you are, somebody with that type of mindset and somebody with those type of behaviors, even if they are not aware, a lot of people who do actually move like that and think like that and operate from those behaviors, the level of pride that those people usually have is so high. The level of a lack of accountability is usually so high that there will be no soul searching and inner looking on their part. And this is honestly not to make fun of anybody, but it's just the realization that with some people, you have to just realize that they don't believe that there's anything wrong with them. They don't believe that there's any flaw in them. And if they do believe it, the level of pride inside of that person is at maximum high, that they're unwilling to even just take a minute and do any sort of self-reflection. And when you don't know who you are, you have not done the work to get to know who you are. That is the perfect environment for people like that, or somebody with that type of personality, to come in and try to use you, to come in and try to take advantage of you, to come in and really essentially, depending on how much you let them in and how long they've been in your life, can give them a lot of access to destroy your life. So it's so wise to learn to love yourself and learn to know who you are. I know, back to like what I was speaking about in the beginning, when you have not grown up being affirmed in certain ways, when you have not really experienced that a lot, and you may be able to recognize that, because I have been in a place where there were certain things happening in my life, and in my mind, I didn't even realize that it was that until somebody was able to point that out for me. But there's such thing as having had these experiences and things done to you, and you don't even realize what has happened to you. So if you've never been affirmed, I was going to say one of the ways you may be able to identify that is when people compliment you or say something nice about you or something good about you, how do you respond? Is it like, okay, thank you? Or are you able to receive it? Or when you hear it, a compliment or something good about yourself doesn't make you uncomfortable and feel like you're not even worthy of what that person just spoke about you, that may be a sign that you have not been somebody who has been affirmed in whatever way it may be, or maybe you've been neglected in that way or area, or maybe even if you have been affirmed, there's just some areas of maybe insecurity you may need to work on when it pertains to those certain things, or just being affirmed or complimented in the first place. When I was willing to do the work, go deep, get to know myself, learn to love myself, that is when I started to grow stronger and stronger and stronger. And certain things that I would allow to happen in my life, I stopped allowing them to happen in my life, because after a while you get tired of feeling beat up on. After a while you get tired of feeling used and abused by people. After a while you get tired of allowing people to come in, leech off of you, and then when they're done, skedaddle, and you're left to pick up the pieces and fend for yourself. That is not a life to want to have. That is not a life to want to settle in, being used by people, being treated poorly by people, not having people around you that love you and support you. And I am sensitive to know that there are certain situations in people's lives where that may be the case right now. And I want you to know that this is in no way meant to make you feel bad, because I personally understand that you may just be somebody who has just not had the best relationships and the people around you that are capable of supporting you. But I do hope that one day you do find that. I do hope that one day you do have that. And I do believe that you can. I don't believe that because someone is not yet in that space that they're a bad person. Sometimes you just may be a person that's very empathetic, and a lot of toxic people may have gravitated to. Or again, if you don't love yourself, you could have the sweetest heart ever, but you can't make people treat you right by just being nice and, accepting any kind of behavior. And you have to learn boundaries. You have to learn what you feel you want to be treated as respect. You have to learn how to speak that out and make sure that is known that this is your level where you feel like respect should not be crossed and things of that nature. But I don't want to get too far away from the point that I was going towards. So back to that. When I was younger and naive and allowed certain things in my life, for the other people it was cool. But once I began to develop that self-love and not allow any type of behavior in my life and learn boundaries, I realized that people don't like boundaries. People don't like when you like yourself. People don't like when you love yourself and you know who you are and you are secure in yourself, because that puts up boundaries. That puts up this thing that says, I can't come in and do whatever I want regarding this person. I have a standard that I have to stand up to and live by when it comes to this person. And most people, although we have like the social cues to kind of know, generally speaking, to kind of know what's okay and what's not okay, you will be surprised that a lot of people are not used to being held to certain standards. A lot of people are not used to having boundaries to a certain extent when it comes to social things. Or if they know of these boundaries, if they haven't had many places where they had to uphold and upkeep these boundaries, or they haven't had these relationships and people around them where they've had to enact these boundaries, put into practice not crossing these boundaries, then you may find that when those people are around you, they're not enacting those boundaries because they haven't really been checked on it. They haven't really been stopped in their tracks when those boundaries have been crossed and uncomfortability has been reached when it comes to the other person. And I think back to situations where I would think that certain situations that would happen in my life, it would be the most common sense thing. It would be the thing that you would just know not to do, not to cross. But because of that state that I was in back then, because of the state that I was operating from, of not knowing that self-love, not knowing who I was, I didn't stand up for myself in those situations. I didn't stick up for myself in those situations. And so now, at this place where I'm at in life, when I say this is a boundary and you've crossed it and it's not okay with me, you either have to do better, or we're going to have to cut this thing off. And people don't want to be accountable, and people don't want to accept that it is what it is, and you got to do better, or you got to come up, or you got to change in order to be in my life. I found that it hasn't really gone well with somebody who is not able to be accountable for their own lives, with somebody who lacks boundaries themselves for their own lives. They are willing to cross over into other people's spaces that are uncomfortable. I have found that it has not gone well. But let me say this, I now see that a clear sign of loving yourself and a clear sign of truly knowing who you are is being willing to speak up for yourself. And whatever the consequence of that is, the consequence is just what it is. If that person walks out of your life, if that person decides that they don't want to change, they don't want to accept accountability and responsibility for their own actions, which they have the very right to do that. They do have the right to do that. And so that's something you have to accept. But I have found it will ruffle feathers. It will make people uncomfortable. It will even probably make you question probably make you question your own, like, did I do this right, or is this the right thing to do? But when you know in your heart that you are left with peace, when you know that you're not being disrespected or having certain things done to you, then it is worth it. When you have those boundaries in place, when you know who you are and you love yourself, it allows you to stay in a place of peace, that place of homeostasis where people aren't coming in and out, just causing your life to go here to there to all over the place, because you are not firm in standing up for yourself. You're not firm in saying, this is my boundary and I'm not okay with you crossing this. I believe that there's hard parts on both sides. It's hard when you don't love yourself and don't know who you are, because you're going to tolerate a lot of stuff that you more than likely should have never tolerated, or would have never tolerated if you saw yourself in a different light. And in that case, being done wrong continuously because of whatever, just not putting the right things around you, not allowing yourself to be in the right environment and have the right people around you, that in turn starts to allow you to be beat up on in your heart. It allows you to continue to take on these insults that you don't have to take on. And that is hard, to have a bunch of stuff done to you that you don't deserve, and then now having to unpack all of that extra stuff and undo all of that extra stuff. And then again, everyone's life and journey is different. So if you've already gone through a childhood that caused you to go through a lot, and then now you're an adult and taking on so much, imagine the hurts and pains and the buildup of all of that. But on the other side of knowing who you are, on the other side of loving yourself, it's hard to have to see people walk out of your life because they're unwilling to take accountability. But in the end, you have your dignity, you have your respect, and you know what you're willing to tolerate. So in that case, you have to be willing to walk alone. And one thing that I have realized is the more I learn to love myself and the more I learn to go deeper and getting to know myself, walking alone was not a problem for me. Walking alone, and I don't mean your whole life that you have to walk alone. People come and go in life, and you know when to allow people in and when not to allow people in. But there are going to be some times when you learn to love yourself, and when you learn to really know who you are, that you're going to have to walk away, or other people will walk away because of those boundaries, because of what you have put in action to protect your peace, to protect your mind, your soul, your spirit. And you got to come with it. You got to be strong. You got to be willing to get through these seasons rather than to just latch onto something because it's there, not because it's good for you. I believe that we go through different seasons, and sometimes we're ready to embark on that place of coming from the lower place that we're in and then get into that higher place. So I understand the different opposites of both because I've been at both. And so I understand that it's a journey, and it's a place that you just get to, and you're like, enough is enough. It took me building up. It took years of me learning who I am, of me learning how to speak up for myself. And even if you fail or don't do it the way you thought you would do it or get it, it's okay to start again. It's a journey. It is a process, but you have to know that you're worth the treatment that you want in life. You have to know that whatever you are desiring to have in your life, the type of relationships, the type of people, you have to know that you're worth it, and you have to put in that work to make sure that the relationships around you and the people around you, that those are what's coming in your life. You don't have to accept every invitation of every person that is attempting to enter your space and enter your life. I saw this actually a few days ago, and someone was just speaking about how everyone does not get to experience them. Everyone does not get to come in their life and experience the greatness of their life. And that is okay. Again, that's boundaries. On the journey of getting to know myself, that allowed me to awaken to so many different things about myself, the gifts that have been placed inside of me, my purpose and where I'm supposed to go and what I'm supposed to do, what I deserve as a person, and the experiences that I'm willing to allow in my life. The opportunities even that I'm willing to allow into my life. Even now as I'm talking, I'm going into, I guess, like a business mindset of that. If you're somebody who may be independent and, I'm thinking about it from a perspective of, let's say you want to work with companies or for whatever it is, whatever sector or whatever that you work in, and they offer you something and you absolutely know in your heart that you're not okay with what's being offered. Actually, this morning I got an email for something that was completely, which I believe it was a scam actually. Anyway, it was completely outside of where I'm at today in the path that I am trying to walk for my life today. When I say wild, I mean wild. I don't even know where this came from. Like, it has to be a scam. That's how wild this email that I received this morning was, or somebody playing games with me. That is how I felt about it. But when you know that you have a certain idea of who you are, and you know what you're worth, and you know what you deserve, regarding even down to business, down to where you receive deals and things from, it changes things for you. You don't have to just accept anything. You don't have to just take whatever is thrown at you, because you know who you are and you know what you're worth, and you know that even though it may sound good, although what was sent to me did not sound good at all. It was wild. But even though it may sound good in the moment, it may not be good for your life. And knowing yourself, knowing where you're going, knowing the vision that you have for your life, you are more than likely not going to be as free to just accept anything. You're not going to be as freely just stamping your name on anything. and taking whatever comes at you. Okay, you guys, so I am about to get ready to wrap up this video. I just wanted to come on here and just kind of put out a reminder and encouragement about why it's important to get to know yourself, to know who you are, to know what you deserve, to know what you're worth, whether that was affirmed to you from a child or not, or even affirmed to you as an adult. And just see life from a better place. See life from a place of knowing what you deserve, what you want to allow into your life. Is the path easy to get to that place? No. For me, it was not easy. It requires doing the inner work. It requires doing the healing. It requires going deep and bringing up old stuff so that you can be set free from that stuff. And life is a process. So you may get far and then find yourself back in a place where you have to redig and go back again. But that's the beauty of life, is that it's a journey and it's a process, and we're constantly on this road to working on ourselves and get into that better place. The other thing I wanted to touch on again was boundaries. Boundaries are so important. When you learn to love yourself and you start walking out from that place of knowing who you are and having that confidence and leveling up and going to these new places and getting into these new spaces, boundaries are so important. And life will allow you to be tested to see if you really do love yourself. Life will allow you to be tested to see if you really do know yourself, know what you're worth, and know what you deserve and what you should allow into your life. I want to say that getting to know yourself in a way allows you to experience the better of life, because again, like I said, when I did not know who I was, when I did not love myself, even though I was so used to the bad treatment that I didn't even realize how bad I was being treated in that time, because it was just the norm. Especially again, if you're somebody who's very empathetic and you feel, you're probably going to attract a lot of people who are on more of a narcissist side, because unfortunately they do tend to look for people that they know they'll be able to drain from and take whatever resources or whatever it is from. So you have to be sensitive to that. But I believe that once you get to that place of knowing who you are, standing firm in that, and walking from that place, that it allows you to hold on to what is for you. It allows those opportunities for you to flourish and experience the better things for your life to happen. So I thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great day. Bye.